You're a bodybuilder.
That was what they call like skinny fat. You know, if you'd done any diet, I had tried it. So it took me several years to put on a little bit of muscle in the first place.
So it was hard. It was hard for you to put on weight.
Yeah. And it,
muscle,
same. Girl.
Yeah.
For competition, are you trying to get your body fat down to like what percentage?
About 8 to 10%.
Okay.
And then in the off season, 20 to 30% body fat.
I usually hover around 8 to 10. You know what I mean? Just like, you don't know YouTube. You don't know. I can edit that out.
The camera adds 10 pounds.
The camera adds 30%. What's up, guys? We're back. It's the Best of Midland Texas Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Shewchuk. This is my lovely co-host and wife. Whatever way you want to do it, whatever order, babe. It's up to you. This is the podcast where we interview local business owners, entrepreneurs, and personalities in the best city in America, Midland, Texas. But you don't have to be from Midland, Texas to appreciate the stories and the journeys of entrepreneurs and small business owners. Today, we have an amazing small business owner. Her name is Jennifer Jordan. You may know her as Bench Press Betty. That's some good branding, by the way. Jennifer is a super talented and accomplished bodybuilder, hence the name. She has a website called benchpressbetty.com. Go check it out. We'll link it below. She's here to tell her story and sort of her fitness journey, and she has amazing like seasonings and stuff to keep you healthy. Jennifer is inspired by her grandmother, Betty, and also strong women of the past, like in the pinup era. So if you see her website, like she's a super pinup model. I mean, your website and your branding is really on point.
Thank you. I put a lot of work into it.
And she also has a summer camp, an upcoming summer camp that she created. So we'll talk about that. And it's a summer camp for girls. So that's super cool. So Jennifer, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. So I'm sure what everybody wants to know is like, you're a bodybuilder. How did you get into bodybuilding and when?
Really now, and it pains me, it makes me feel old to say, is about 10 years ago. I've always been kind of an avid gym goer. I was never talented growing up, never did sports. It wasn't for lack of trying. I mean, I tried all the cheerleading, basketball. It just was not coordinated. I actually ended up being a band geek. I was played French horn for Midland High, and then when I graduated there, I did a stint at Texas Tech and was in the going band from Raiderland for a little bit and whatnot. But about 10 years ago, I was in the gym and I saw a girl who had these sculpted shoulders and was doing her workout. And, you know, the typical creeper that most people are when you start watching people in the gym. I could not help myself. I went up to her and I just asked her, like, what do you do? You're gorgeous. And she said, I'm a bodybuilder. And that was really the first introduction I'd ever had to that world because, you know, stereotypically, when you hear the word bodybuilder, you think Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know, the big guys and the Mr. Olympias and stuff like that. So I didn't appreciate that there was a division, I guess, for women to do so. And I always thought that if there were, that they would be the big girls too. But she kind of introduced me to it. And then it took me several years to get in touch with a coach or someone in that world to kind of help me train and get going with it. I'm a data analyst, so I like to overanalyze and overthink everything. And I usually appreciate kind of having someone to hold my hand to get me over that first hurdle. So I went up to Lubbock. They used to have those dunk tanks that you could do to see what your body fat index and stuff was for fun. And one of the staff there was a coach. And she had actually been on the Miss Olympia stage as a bodybuilder and was a pro. And so I partnered up with her, and the rest is history. I mean, that was about 7-8 years ago now that I've been getting into it. And there's different levels to bodybuilding. I mean, obviously there's the big girls, but on the low end of the spectrum, the bikini division, they look more like NFL cheerleaders, real athletic. They have a very jazzy, sassy stage presence, and I'm not talented in that respect. So the division up above that is what I do, which is called figure. And so it has a little bit more structure to it, a little bit more muscularity, but you don't have to do the traditional bodybuilding poses. You still get to wear the heels and do the glam, and it's a beauty pageant for fit girls. So it was right up my alley. But it was a long road to get there because I was what they call like skinny fat. You know, if you'd done any diet, I had tried it and stuff. So it took me several years to put on a little bit of muscle in the first place to even get to the point where I wanted to be on stage and get going with it. So
it was hard. It was hard for you to put on weight. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. And
Put on muscle.
Same girl.
Yeah. We had two directions that we could go with it. I mean, we could start dieting and trim down and do a competition first, but I'm very competitive at heart. So I wasn't going to pay the money and enter to do a show unless I thought I could win it. And so we went the tough route first, which was to do several months of actually the strength training, the weight training, kind of learning all the tips and tricks to put on a little bit of size and then trim down and jump on stage. And I'm a little bit of a crazy person because I came to her in the summer in like June and I said, hey, I'm ready, like, let's do this. And she's like, well, you got a long way to go. You probably need to lose, about 20, 30 pounds. And she's
wow.
when do you want to do a show? And I said, August. And it was like 8 weeks. And she's like, that's not typical, but we can do it. And I was like,
holy cow,
we will do it. And I did. I lost the weight. And in 8 weeks, I was doing 2 hours of cardio in a day in addition to strength training, loving the life. I was packing my lunches and everything.
2 hours a day.
2 hours.
Yes, it's not, it's not your typical, you're doing it for a goal. It's like Ironman. It's like any type of marathon athlete or so forth. It's going to be more on the extreme side of things, but at least it's temporary and it's for a purpose.
True.
Because I knew when I woke up that morning for the competition, I had already won. Whatever the judges decided, that was all subjective because different shows have different promoters and they're looking for different things. But I could not have brought a better version of myself to the table and everything. So jumped on my first show in August of 2015, won first place in the open division for figure. And then they had what they call novice, which is your first time to ever compete. They had that division too, and I also won that.
Wow.
And so I had the bug. I was hooked from there.
Yeah, you're like, all right, I'm on it.
Yes.
The competition was in August, and you were going like, I'm ready. Let's start in June. You had basically 2 months. Like, but what now typically for you is like you're like, okay, if the show is in August, how far in advance is your regimen?
If I stay kind of 80-20 on the diet and the workouts and what they call the off season between competitions and stuff, I can probably dial it in about 12 to 16 weeks. If I want to do it kind of slow, if I want to do it aggressively, I can do it in about 8 or 9 weeks. It's a little healthier for you if you take a little longer to get into it and stuff. You have to appreciate that the way that you look when you start is probably going to be the way that you look when you finish, because unless you maintain that level of conditioning and dieting, it's just not attainable all the time. I mean, you want to look like the Instagram model, but what you learn is the Instagram model only looks that way for 2 weeks and takes 365 photos and then spaces them out throughout the year. That's why the photo that you see she posted that morning, and then you run into her at HEB and you're like, wait, you don't look like this. And it's like, because this is a throwback photo, from the time
and
before.
You were like super like dehydrated. Like you really have to like, what it's called, like drying out or something like that, right before, right? Like to get out to show all your veins and everything like that, right?
Yeah, it's very short lived. It usually takes about 48 hours, and it's just to that point that when you're on stage and you're under the bright lights, you get spray tanned really heavily.
That's her favorite.
You come out looking like a roasted Dorito, and then they gloss you up a little bit just so that way the lights don't blur you out, and then you do a brief period where you don't intake water, and but you're still getting moisture from your food. That's what a lot of people don't understand. You know, so if you're doing it right, you shouldn't be cramping. You shouldn't be passing out. You shouldn't be sick backstage like a lot of some of the athletes do, and some of that's misinformation or improper coaching or not having a coach. Yeah. And there's a lot of them that just try and wing it based on what they read on the internet, and so that can be kind of scary. But if you're doing it the right way, I never really notice it, and then literally once the awards are over, I've got big old bottles of Powerade Zero, and I'm just chugging. You know, we go out and we celebrate.
Yeah, I was going to be like, when you're done, are you just like hitting the buffet and you're just like, give me everything?
I always have like a celebratory dinner that we have planned if the show ends at a reasonable hour. Sometimes they are late and it's midnight and In-N-Out Burger's the only thing that's open. But the irony is that you diet for that length of time, and then not only after the show do you celebrate, but you typically have like a junk food meal the night before the show.
Oh.
Okay.
And a lot of people, like when I first heard that, and I had to trust my coach that she's like, yeah, we're going to go out and we're going to get a cheeseburger. You're not going to get all the fixins on it, and you're going to get a small portion maybe of fries, and we'll look you over and see. But you've depleted your body so much through the process and everybody has a different method that they go about training for the show. For me, I usually cut out carbs a couple weeks before the competition. And what that does is it just kind of starves your body for it a little bit. And so then you eat that meal the night before that's usually got carbs and some fats to it. And you go from being really deflated and flat looking to waking up the next day just voluminous. Just the muscles have all filled out. It's incredible. I mean, you have a little bit of energy restored in you and stuff. But the first time it happened, I have a before and after picture that I can share with you guys, and y'all can post it too.
Yeah.
And it's literally 48 hours apart, and I look like two totally different people.
Wow.
And
Science.
stuff. So yes, it was like a mad physics project. But
That's crazy. When you're doing like 2 hours of cardio in the morning, I'm assuming you also like worked out, like lifting weights and stuff after that. But like, what was your calorie intake like on those kind of days?
I have never tracked macros to that extent that I'm counting calories. I've always portioned and weighed my food, which is great for me. Being a data analyst and overanalyzing things, if I have to sit there and go into an app or track every sugar packet I consume, that's just not life. But to elaborate a little bit more on the cardio, you don't have to do all the cardio at once. And so like I would get up in the morning, I was living by myself. And so I would get up, it was Gold's Gym back then. It's now like TrueFit. I think it's gone through several different franchises over there by the hospital. And I'd work out from about, 4 to 5 and do about an hour of cardio on the stair climber or something. And then I'd get done with work. And if I wanted to change the scenery, I'd go to the YMCA and jump on an elliptical or go back there and stuff, or go run outside or something. It was really, I have always done my cardio for a target heart rate. So it really doesn't matter what you do as long as you kind of get in that zone that you're trying to achieve.
Okay, so you get into that zone and then you just stay for a certain amount of time.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Versus like distance or trying to burn a certain number of calories.
Yeah. Gotcha. And because a lot of times too, the calculators that they have that are on the equipment themselves can be so inaccurate, and it doesn't take into account the calories that you burn throughout the day when you're not training or working out. So for me, that has always just been a rule of thumb. I usually, for my target heart rate based on my age and weight and everything, I try and stay about 135 to 145 for about 30, 45, 60 minutes, wherever I'm at in the stage of training, which now is kind of cool because I'm engaged and he has 2 young kids. And so like our cardio can be kicking the ball around in the backyard.
I see.
Or when they were little, I used to push them on like a skateboard, and you do several tracks of that back and forth down the street and, look at your watch and
You're there.
sure enough, I've hit my target for the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you say to women in the gym that are like, oh, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to get big? That's like kind of like a myth that you hear a lot.
It is a myth. It's not going to happen. The irony is it's an optical illusion many times because it's been so fascinating over the years with my own friends and family or people that I bump into that assume that I've gotten bigger when I've actually trimmed down for a show. So I always have a healthy layer of hydration and body fat when I'm not training. But then when I start into it, you're kind of peeling back those layers and I'm slimming down. I usually lose about maybe at the most, maybe 20 pounds, but about 10 to 15 pounds and a few pounds of water. But the fact that people will say you look bigger, and it's like, I don't look bigger. I just look more defined.
Yeah.
And if I do tape measurements, my arm measurements are actually smaller. My waist measurements are smaller. My legs are smaller, but I look bigger and stuff. So most people who go to the gym are training to improve themselves physically, improve themselves mentally, or even spiritually, unless you're training for a purpose, like what we talked about, whether it be bodybuilding or running a marathon or being a triathlete. You're not going to have to worry about getting bigger.
Yeah.
So especially for a woman, there's too many other factors to consider if you're just doing it for a healthy lifestyle.
For a competition, are you trying to get your body fat down to like what's percentage like?
So when I had a coach, we were doing the caliper, the pinch methods and stuff. And she had done the pinch test the night of my first national competition, and I was at 7% by her calculations.
Wow.
But I have to assume that is flawed slightly because of the dehydration.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's taking the kind of the thickness out of your skin when you're pinching it and stuff too. So, but in most cases, from what I've seen, people average about 8 to 10% that week leading up to the show or the weekend of the show.
Okay.
And then in the off season, like I said, if you're kind of maintaining a healthy lifestyle, you're going to be, for women, I would assume you're going to be around 20 to 30% body fat.
Okay.
So
Okay, that makes me feel better.
I mean, I usually hover around 8 to 10. You know what I mean? Just like, you don't know YouTube. You don't know. I can edit that out.
The camera adds 10 pounds.
The camera adds 30%. I feel like the gym now, not that I go ever at all, actually, but I feel like when I was going, like, it was just like, man, I was like, oh, you have your people are setting down tripods. I'm like, man, it's like a whole performance. And it's all for social media at that point. You know what I mean? I'm just like, man.
Right. And I see that when I go to the shows, like when I'm at Olympia and stuff like that, you have the competitors that have the entourage of somebody, you know, with one of the little gimbals, yes, and they're following people around. But in the same breath, that could be the same person that I'm following. You know, so it looks funny in person, but I actually met some TikTok influenced people when I was working a booth at Olympia last year, and I treated them, you know, just like I ran into Mariah Carey or somebody famous, you know, and fangirled out over it. And people do it to me too, which is really weird, because that's kind of what started the whole bench press Betty thing, is because I did the Arnold. Probably should state there's an amateur side to the bodybuilding world and there's a pro side. Just like baseball has the minors and the majors. I compete at the amateur level. And when I learned that a lot of these bigger shows like Olympia and the Arnold that you aspire to do as a pro, you can actually jump on the same stage as an amateur. And there's no like pre-requirements to get there, because oftentimes you have to win a state level competition to qualify for a national level competition to even have the chance to earn a coveted pro card.
Yeah, so you have to win you have to take first place in a national, and then you get your pro card.
Not always.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Sometimes because for my division, we are pitted against one another based on height. And so you could win your height class, but not win top overall. And maybe the pro card is just for the top overall. And it changes. Like I said, it depends on the promoter, and it depends on which show you go to. But with the Arnold, once I found out in 2019 that they were doing it, I wanted to jump on stage and try that, because the girls that I had followed had stepped on that stage at one time as pros. And I thought, screw it, I'm not going to wait till I become a pro. We're just going to do it now and fake it till we make it. Yeah. And the neat thing about the Arnold is there are so many more sports going on at the same time. We saw fencing competitions. Oh, wow. We saw gymnastics and so forth. And after I got done with prejudging, I'm probably a little vain. I was all spray tanned up and glamored up, and I don't get to do this very often. So I'm walking around the expo dressed that way. Like, we're not going to cover this up. I worked too hard for these abs, as you saw. And I ran into these young girls who were there for a gymnastics competition, and they were just so inspired, you know, by all the glitter and the hair and everything. And they asked for a picture with me. So, you know, like their mom took pictures and stuff. And I wanted a way to follow them, because like I didn't feel influential to that moment, but I knew that I had an opportunity that as they grow up to cheer them on, just like I could do for my future stepdaughter Haley and stuff too. So this was during the time frame that all the YouTubers had the cool handles. You had like Honey Buns Fit and, you know, all these other Buff Bunny and stuff. So I just chewed over what my moniker would be and what my branding would be. And one of the most important things to me was my grandmother Betty, because I lost her when I was 30 to breast cancer. And up until that point, she would have been my biggest cheerleader in anything that I came home and told her I was going to do. And stuff. So honoring her was a big part of it. I've always loved the 1940s, 1950s pinup era. When I was doing real estate, I wanted that. I wanted to be like Victoria Prince. I wanted to have that shtick where I could, you know, do the victory roles and stuff. And so combining the best of both worlds, because Betty is synonymous with like Betty Page and the pinup look, and then honoring my grandmother as well, kind of bench press Betty was born. And then it was, you know, trying to come up with a workout like dumbbell Betty, didn't really have that quite ring, leg press Betty, you know, so bench press Betty, which is so funny now, because the first thing that most like bro guys will ask me is like, well, how much do you bench press? Sure. And I was like, the irony is I don't, you know, like. So
my assumption is like people must ask you all the time, like, what's your workout like? What's your diet like? So is that like, tell us about your seasoning and how you start, basically how and why you started it.
Right. Well, it was twofold. Coming back from that competition, the Arnold competition in 2019, I sat on the flight home and I just felt like I needed to pay it forward. Like I felt this calling from having met those girls that not only did I want to have Bench Press Betty and maybe a blog and, you know, an Instagram so that we could follow each other. I had a future stepdaughter at the time. I had just started dating someone, and this was before she got into all the travel sports, and we were looking for something fun for her to do for the summer here in Midland. Well, I grew up back in the day doing Girl Scouts. My mom was program director a couple of times, and so every summer we did the week-long day camp and things like that. And it can be difficult nowadays for girls to make that kind of commitment to an organization year round. And so I knew I wanted to structure something similar. Well, so that was one aspect of the Seasonings, is because as with Girl Scouts, they sell their cookies to raise money. And so I needed a way that I could raise money too, because it's difficult for me to just start a GoFundMe account and say, hey, support me, without having a little something tangible to give back. In the same breath, I thought, well, you know, I've been doing the workouts and the diet so long, and everybody always asks me, especially around the new year, you know, new year, new me, they're going to get back in shape, that I'm going to, you know, get my personal trainer license and then start charging for it, because I'm giving all this advice out for free. And it was sad a lot of times to spend half an hour, or lunch hour with people to offer that advice for free. And then 2 weeks later, see them not applying it. And it's not easy. You have to have a goal. Like, I could not do this lifestyle if it wasn't for the competitions, because I really don't get serious until I sign up for them. And then that's when you start skipping the cupcakes and doing the cardio. Okay. But I got halfway through the online personal training course and just decided this is not for me. Like, it was a little too in-depth, and I had been in the gym and on the cardio hamster wheel long enough to hear everybody's excuses and stories. And I get it. We all have life and we all have our issues and stuff, but I didn't know if I could be sympathetic enough to it with everything that I have going on, because my mindset was, if it's important to you, you'll make time for it. Yeah. You know, and it even rings true to myself. I break promises to myself too at times where I skip the gym and not do it. But so the flip flop for that was when people start asking me about the diets and the workout. A lot of times they say, I can do the workout. You know, I can walk my dog, I can go to the gym or go to the curves and so forth. But the diet, I do it for about a month, and then I'm tired of chicken, I'm tired of broccoli, I'm tired of rice. It's always so boring. I can't have this, I can't have that. And I started thinking about it long and hard, and I was like, well, how have I been able to do this diet for so many years? And a lot of it has to do with flavor. You can take chicken and you can take taco seasoning and have chicken tacos one night, or you can take ranch seasoning the next night and completely change it, or do something Italian and so forth. So I was looking in our pantry and at what we do to cook for ourselves, and I thought, well, this is perfect. I'll just come up with my own line of seasonings. And then the great thing about it versus coming up with my own protein supplement line and slapping, because I had thought about that too, like come up with BCAAs and protein shakes.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, why seasonings versus, supplements or, a drink or something like that. But this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, this casts a wider net, because I have so many friends and family and now supporters who don't live that lifestyle, who don't want to drink protein shakes or do amino acids or eat a chalky protein bar and so forth. So I wanted to stand out in the market where everybody else is kind of going that direction, but then also be able to have something that tastes great if you put it on your meal prep, or if you're in the off season and you want to put it on your pizza and mac and cheese. So I came up with all the names myself. I wanted them to kind of be themed in the retro 1940s, 1950s. And so, like, starting here, I have my Bench Press Betty Mambo Italiano seasoning with Romano cheese. So this one I have always used for baked chicken, or if you do any of your Italian recipes like spaghetti, homemade meatloaf recipes, or the kids like to put this on if we order Papa John's, and they'll put it on the pizza as a pizza topping, or my fiance Jeff has been putting it in a turkey bacon sandwich. Oh. Just a turkey bacon sandwich with mayo, and just like sprinkle a little bit on there, and it gives it that Subway flavor. Yeah. We're getting into crawfish boil season. Yes. Yeah. And I love me some Tony's Hatcheries. But Tony's can be so high in sodium.
So salty.
I started working on this about 4 years ago, so I can't even really recall if they had the salt-free option back then or not. But I knew I use this almost every day in everything. It's great on, I do homemade sweet potato fries with it. Of course, any of your seafood recipes, it's the secret ingredient in my deviled eggs. And then my best seller is my Twist and Shout taco seasoning.
Okay.
So this one here, you just take a couple tablespoons of it and mix it with a pound of chicken, a pound of ground beef, or ground turkey. What we've started doing in our house is I'll actually cook up a big batch of it at the beginning of the week. And then when we have the kids, they'll come home and they can sprinkle it on nachos or make tacos for a couple nights. And then by like Wednesday, I could take the leftovers, roll them in some corn tortillas and drizzle some enchilada sauce on top. And you have a family night meal. So none of it goes to waste. And you can do a little bit of both with it. Yeah. And the great thing too is the kids at first, I would do my own diet. And then they would eat separately. You know, we'd have pizza rolls or taquitos or something. Well, I started beta testing them. Like they were my little hidden taste testers on the seasonings. And nowadays, they will prefer to actually eat what I eat to train for a competition over the taquitos and the junk food.
I mean, that's like the way to know that it's actually good.
Yes.
Kids don't lie.
From the mouth of babes. Yeah.
They're
no filter and everything. So
nice.
it was so cute because I have an older YouTube video that we did where we made tacos. And you can hear Mason in the video go, "We've never had this before." And I just kind of looked at him. I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" Yeah, like, yeah, you've been eating on it for 6 months. So I have Boogie Woogie bagel seasoning. This one is based a lot off of the infamous Trader Joe's Everything But the Bagel seasoning. But all of the ones that I've tried, even the ones from HEB and stuff, have a lot of sea salt in them. And so the great thing about this one is it only has a trace amount of sea salt to where it didn't even register on the nutritional facts.
Nice.
So this one is great for your avocado toast. It adds a crunch factor to salads because a lot of times when you're dieting, you miss the crunch. You can't have the chips. You can't have the crackers. You can't have the croutons and so forth. So this kind of puts it back for you. Nice. I also have a friend who takes an entire salmon fillet and coats it with either a layer of olive oil or mayo and then sprinkles that on top and grills it. And it gives it just a nice crispy crust.
Yum.
Like your seared ahi tuna and stuff. It wouldn't be country if we didn't have some bombshell buttermilk ranch. I have so far not had one person tell me they don't like this, which makes me feel good. And, I'm an open book. I appreciate positive and negative feedback. It lets me know. But this one here, you can make the dips out of it. You can mix it with the sour cream. Or if you want a little more protein, you can mix it with Greek yogurt and eat it with veggies or chips. The kids love it. I'll make a tub of this with sour cream when we go camping, and they'll dip barbecue potato chips in it. And stuff. It's also any recipe that calls for a Hidden Valley Ranch packet. The packets are about 2 tablespoons, so this is going to last you several servings.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, I have my Lady Luck lemon pepper. This one's my salt-free option. It's got some orange zest in it too. If you like homemade chicken wings or any of your grilled veggies or fish, this one is.
We're looking at all of our recipes now, going like, "Oh, okay."
I'm like, what are we gonna make?
Yeah. So
low sodium or salt-free. I guess no calories.
Yep. It really depends on what you put it on. So
Yeah.
They're also gluten-free. That's a big one because like my sister has celiac, and so I wanted to make sure that she can enjoy them too. Some of the questions that I've got since I launched it last year, like is if it contains MSGs or sulfites, and it contains neither. It's also, I'm a GoTexan partner, a proud GoTexan partner. So I've got it on the label here, which means everything is sourced in Texas.
Cool.
So we keep it local and, bring it full circle.
I love it. And all the names are so cute.
You're also in a few stores locally too, right?
I am. Yeah. So I've been fortunate to get picked up by Ivy Cottage on Big Spring Street. They have been awesome. Lori's great. And then Natural Foods on Wadley, where Strawberry Fields is, kind of down from TNT Donuts on Wadley and Garfield. Yep. Larry has hooked me up and put me on the shelf there.
Yeah. So this is in support of your summer camp. So let's talk about that. It's called Supergirl Summer Camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with the nonprofit, I have created a week-long summer camp here in Midland to where we are going to have a blast. I want to bring in different female speakers from diverse backgrounds to kind of show these girls what they can grow up to be like. I think all too often, especially here in the Permian Basin, we kind of get settled in the logic of, well, our parents went into the oil business, and so we'll go into the oil business too, or real estate, or it's really hard to get out there and be introduced to other opportunities. that these girls have. And so I want to bring these women in to kind of show them what I've learned and so forth. And then teach them too that the old adage of having a career where you graduate high school and you go to college and you get a degree and then you get a good job and you strive for that corner office and then you hope to stay there for 20 years and retire and, then travel. That doesn't apply to us anymore. I mean, the average that you're going to stay in a job is 5 to 7 years. So showing these girls that you're not a failure if you get a college degree and then you decide that's not for you, or if you don't want to go to college, if you want to do a trade school thing.
Yeah.
And then if you get into a job and after a couple years you decide, no, the tech industry is not for me. I think I want to go, become a baker or something. I want these girls to see that, we are multifaceted. We don't have to just put ourselves in one bucket, and that bucket defines us the rest of our life. I love what I do as a data analyst, but that doesn't define who I am and everything. So that's part of the structure of the camp, and then the rest of it is going to be filled with group activities, crafts, and projects, all geared around problem solving, confidence building, building those valuable life skills that kids don't have. I mean, they're connected now more than ever through their apps and their phones, and yet they're so disconnected in person. They lack those interpersonal skills. They lack that confidence to go be able to pump their own gas, to make that phone call, to engage with you. I mean, I see it at the farmers markets and stuff too. And so just being able to kind of shake them up and break them out of their shell and teach them, things that are going to make them successful in life. So each day is going to be a different theme. We're going to kind of have one day be our like white collar jobs, and then another day be kind of blue collar jobs. And then I want to bring in a few athletes or people who work outside of the box. They don't have a desk job like what we were talking about before, that you can kind of make a career out of some of your passions.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a law enforcement and military and appreciation day. So kind of show them that they could go that route too.
Very
and then
cool.
wrap it all up at the end on Friday. I want the girls to show up as their version of a Supergirl, whether that is a superhero with a cape or whether they dress up as their mom that day because she's their hero, and kind of tie it all in and bring it all home with a fun kind of Friday fair day. Yeah. And I want to draw in other small businesses who maybe want to teach their craft. If they want to set up a table and teach the girls how to make a Christmas ornament because that's what they do, or how to make jewelry or how to grow something. Little takeaways I think that the girls will really cherish and hold on to. And because I won't have children of my own by choice, this has become my lasting legacy. So I can see this long outliving me and having the girls grow up to become moms that send their daughters.
So this is the first year.
This will be the very first year.
That's so cool.
When is it?
It'll be the second week of July, so July 10th through the 14th. And we're having it at the Education Building at the Horseshoe Arena.
Oh,
so
cool.
we're going to start in that little building there. And then my hope is in the coming years, as we grow the camp, then I can start renting out the arena and the pavilion, and we'll just fill it up with girls. So
That'll be so cool.
yes.
So what's the best way to for parents that want to their daughter to be able to join, or are you looking for donors? Are you looking for volunteers?
A little bit of everything.
Okay.
I am wrapping up on the website to launch the registration for the girls to sign up for the camp. The ages for the girls, they're going to start 7 years old and up. So my 7 to 13-year-olds are going to attend the camp. And then what I want to have is my 14 and older girls, because they're the preteen and teenage ones, they need to learn the additional self-confidence and develop their natural leadership skills and so forth. So I really want them to volunteer with me, whether they serve in the capacity of being a small group leader and working alongside the adults to kind of help navigate the girls and lead them in the games and the crafts and the projects, or if they want to help me with some of the behind the scenes work that we get done. Something that was important to me for getting the coveted 501c3 is being able to sign off on the volunteer credit hours. So if they're part of Cotillion, or if they're part of the Casa de Amigos, other organizations that they have to have a certain number of volunteer credits or service hours, then I can sign off for those. So there's forms for signing up as a girl. I already have the forms if you'd like to volunteer, because obviously I'm going to need a lot of help navigating. We want to have at least 100 girls this first camp. Yeah. I could easily see us doing that. So I'd like to have about 20 to 30 volunteers to help us get going. And then, of course, this is a from the ground up project. I have put my life savings into it, and I would love to have local sponsors who will show these girls that we believe in them by supporting them either financially or supporting with your time, like we mentioned with the small business that's coming in. So I have put together a digital version of a sponsorship packet that has all the information that they would need to know. We've got some different tier options for them
Great.
for sponsorship, and doing a little exchange marketing, promoting them as well.
No, go to benchpressbetty.com, buy your seasonings, support, and also Supergirl. Also supergirlsummercamp.com, and sign up, and you can also donate, and you can also volunteer if you want to.
And sponsor.
Sponsor.
Yes.
Do
We'd
it all.
Love to have them.
Awesome. Again, thank you for being here, and we will see you on the next one. Bye. Boom.